Part 126. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1251. Speak quickly, tell me quickly, Master, what is this little show? Huan drank half the glass of wine and urged. This small business of selling food covers the dishes, the cuisine, and us as chefs. Fatty Fu said, My Tuo, do you know what is the most difficult thing for us chefs to learn? Carved flowers. I see there is a carving master in the hotel. He can carve a lot of radish flowers in one go. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to carve one in a day, Huan said. That's just a small skill. In our chef profession, those who do carving are not considered chefs. At most, they are just technicians. Is that deboning? Huan thought for a while and said, I heard my father say that he saw a restaurant master who could take out the bones of a whole chicken. It's still intact and the skin is not broken at all. Fatty Fu laughed and said, that's a basic skill. It can only be used to fool a layman. I'll teach you tomorrow and you'll learn it in an hour. Really? Huan asked. Of course, deboning a chicken is easier than shredding potatoes. If you want to shred potatoes evenly, you have to work for several days and cut off several baskets of potatoes. If these two skills, which she seemed to be very impressive to, were not difficult to learn, Huan could not think of anything else that was more difficult to learn in the kitchen. She asked, Master, tell me, what is the most difficult thing to learn as a chef? That's taste. This is the hardest thing to learn, and it can't be taught even by a master. If you give the same ingredients and seasonings to 10 chefs of the same level, you can guarantee that the dishes they make will be different. Fatty Fu took a sip of tea and continued. I'm afraid even scientists can't figure out how these different flavors come out. The heat is different, light soy sauce is added early and light soy sauce is added later, and what temperature of oil can be used in the pot. There is no standard for these, and there is no way to quantify them. I tell you that the oil temperature is 80% hot. You know, what is 80% hot? You can't just take a thermometer and insert it into the pot to measure it, right? But each of these affects the taste of the dish, and even a little bit is not enough. Therefore, taste cannot be found in books, and teachers cannot teach it. The most the teacher can do is teach you what should be added to this dish. It's hard to tell how much to add. How much is a little? How much is 2 spoons? In the same way, 1 spoon can be either light or full. I just can't teach it. If you don't have a chef, you have to bring measuring cups, measuring cylinders, and thermometers to work. Even if you bring them, it's useless. Now that you have the measurements, what about the time for cooking? Do you need to bring a stopwatch? For cooking, it only takes a few minutes. By the time you finish doing this, either the meat will be old or the vegetables will be mushy. Taste is something that requires a bit of talent. It needs to be understood and experienced by a chef. In other words, he knows it naturally. If you ask him to talk about it, he will not be able to explain it. Find a top-notch chef. The dishes he cooks will definitely look better than yours, but that's the type of dish, the presentation, not the taste. The taste may not be better than yours. For example, if you ask me to make this large intestine clay pot, the food I made will definitely not be as delicious as yours. This is not modesty. Of course, it is a large intestine stew. If this is a beef brisket stew, I think about it. It will be more delicious than yours. This is another matter. You need to be experienced. For example, I know that making beef, adding beer to stew is better than cooking wine, and adding shell beer is better than Tsingtao beer. This is knowledge and experience. If you have never done this before, you don't know. But I told you, you know, if you make it tomorrow, it will definitely be different. The chef's talent is very important, and his knowledge and experience are also very important. I think Mr. Zhang sent you here because there is a very important person. The big idea is to increase your knowledge. Before your hotel opens, I estimate that Mr. Zhang will take you to eat in all the hotels in Hangzhou. How do you know, Master? Mr. Zhang really said that? Hui Huan was surprised and interrupted Fatty Fu. Fatty Fu smiled and said, if he doesn't do this, he won't be a good boss or a successful boss. Successful bosses have paid tuition. He knows the importance of knowledge and experience. He has never experienced it? Yes, you can learn from others. Hui Huan nodded and thought, this is probably what Brother Zhang said, that stones from other mountains can be used to grind jade. Hui Huan said. That makes sense. I'm sorry, Master, I just interrupted you. Please continue. Fatty Fu said, the most important thing is that what I make will definitely look better than yours. This is what you have to learn. I told you before that taste is the soul of food. You already have the soul of food. Now what you need to learn is the surface, the display. Taste cannot be taught, so when we learn to be a chef, we all start with knife skills, starting from chopping radish and shredded fragrant shreds, because knife skills can be learned. If you give the stupidest person a period of time, let him learn it. His knife skills can be improved, and whether the knife skills are good or not will directly affect the type of dish. The quality of the dish is determined by the appearance of the dish. Before you taste a dish, it must first make people have an appetite and make it look delicious. If you don't have an appetite, you will be muttering in your heart. Even if you make it delicious, he will not think it is so delicious. I understand, Master, no wonder the dishes in big hotels always have radish flowers on the plate, just to look good, Hui Huan said. That's the presentation. Presentation is also very important in a big hotel. 7 points of dishes, 3 points of presentation. These 3 points, not only the presentation, but also the choice of the utensils you use to serve the dishes are very important. Yes, of course, first of all, your dishes should be of good quality, well presented, and very eye-catching when you take them out, making them comfortable to look at. If the color of the dishes you bring out is ugly, and the ingredients are different in size and thickness, and you just put a circle of flowers on the side, it will definitely not work. And these can be learned. This is how to sell vegetables. Mutually. Among all the cuisines, Cantonese cuisine is the best in presentation. We have to admit that Chaozhou cuisine is more exquisite than Cantonese cuisine. Chaozhou cuisine was originally a branch of Cantonese cuisine. Now it has an independent meaning. Cantonese cuisine, there are 4 branches, one is Cantonese cuisine, one is Chaozhou cuisine, one is Dongjiang cuisine, and the other is Hainanese cuisine. Now we talk about it separately. It seems that Cantonese food is Cantonese food, and Teoshuk food is Teoshuk food. Hotels that make Teoshuk food will never say that they make Cantonese food. They all use the name of Teoshuk food. Why? Teoshuk. The food is expensive and sophisticated. Now when looking at Dongjiang cuisine, Hainan cuisine, and even Cantonese cuisine, Chaozhou cuisine feels like city people look at country people. But is the Chaoshan area a countryside? Of course it is a countryside. It, Hainan, and Huizhu, which has Dongjiang cuisine, are both rural areas. Only Cantonese cuisine, that is, Guangzhou cuisine, can be regarded as urban cuisine. But in the past 10 years, it's different now. When looking at other Chaozhou dishes, I think they are old Chinese dishes. Why? This trend comes from Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, there are many big bosses from Chaoshan. These bosses invite people to dinner. Others invite these bosses to dinner. They all like to eat Chaozhou cuisine. It is easy to do business with Chaozhou people in hotels. When Teoshuk people make money in business, everyone cooks Teoshuk cuisine. As for us Chinese, not to mention going to those fly restaurants, those who go to big hotels to treat guests to dinner, half of it is to eat, and the other half of it is to save face. Well, if you want to talk about face, then the owner of the hotel, as I said, in terms of the taste of the food, there is actually not much effort that can be put into it. It is all about the decoration, the tableware, and the presentation. These are just superficial things. Then add some stories. The bird's nest must say that it is a swiftlet's nest. The swiftlet's nest is on Dazhu Island in Hainan. There are dozens of swiftlets on the entire island. Only a few birds' nests can be found in a few years. Where did so many golden birds' nests come from? They are all fakes. Everyone compared the decorations and told stories. The tableware and porcelain are no longer silver. We need pure gold, and the chopsticks need ivory. In this way, the Teosha cuisine becomes more and more exquisite, and the presentation becomes better and better. But there is no way customers will do this. Didn't I say that when people come to eat, half of it is to eat and half of it is to save face? I'm telling you this not to ask you to learn this, but to tell you how important presentation is in the eyes of diners, especially when you make local dishes. How do the local dishes in big hotels compare with those in fly restaurants? The difference is that you can control the taste. All you need to do is these superficial things, but these superficial things are the reason why you are different from the fly house. For example, when it comes to the choice of tableware, you can either choose very exquisite tableware, which will make people feel that it is different when you first look at it. What you are eating is local food and what you see is the appearance of high-end food, or you can choose the most rustic. So cheap that people can't find it even if they look for it in the market now. The effect is the same. When people look at it, they find it curious and interesting, and your purpose has been achieved. The other thing is, in terms of dish type, how can you make your dishes not only delicious but also good looking? You have to think more about this. Our Hunan cuisine is actually very rustic, but this Zhuan Hunan cuisine, it's different. It makes there's no other way. Tan Yang Kai is a cultural man, he's an official, he has money, and all the dishes he creates are for this. Compared with other Hunan dishes, Zhuan Hunan cuisine looks better. It was created by officials and wealthy people. It suits their own tastes. Officials and wealthy people will probably be the same in the future. As the main customer of your hotel, while you are here, it will be very enlightening for you to learn more about the difference between this Zhuan Hunan cuisine and traditional Hunan cuisine. Excellent, Master, what you said is really inspiring to me. I will definitely work hard on my appearance in the future. Master, there is still half a glass of wine. Can you drink it now? Hui Wan asked. Fatty Fu said yes, let's drink half a glass of wine. Thank you to Crush Killer VIP for the reward. Thank you Kong668 and Sun Boshan for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1252. Starting from the first month of the year, housing prices in Hangzhou have started a new wave of rise. Last year, with the approval of the State Council and the provincial government, Hangzhou expanded the administrative area of the city, abolished the two county-level cities of Xiaoshan and Yuhang, and established Xiaoshan District. And Yuhang District, the urban area of Hangzhou has suddenly expanded from 683 square kilometers to 3,068 square kilometers. With the entry of Yuhang and Xiaoshan into Hangzhou, everyone, whether from the local government or the general public, believes that Hangzhou's small urban space has suddenly expanded and its land resources have increased suddenly, which means that the development space of Hangzhou's real estate industry has been greatly reduced. Expansion and a more abundant supply of land will definitely help stabilize or even curb the excessively rising housing prices in Hangzhou. However, after last year, it turned out that this was just wishful thinking. The result of Xiaoshan and Yuhang's entry into Hangzhou was that the housing prices in these two places were stimulated by the good news and rose accordingly. Houses in the old city of Hangzhou even stopped to take a breath. There was no time to breathe, so he continued walking upward. The entry of Yuhang and Xiaoshan into Hangzhou has actually prompted the bosses of these two economically developed areas to speed up the purchase of properties in the old city of Hangzhou. They are all citizens of Hangzhou. They and the citizens of the old city similarly, the concept and focus of school district housing is no longer limited to the local area, but to the famous schools in the old town of Hangzhou. At the same time, the removal of counties and the establishment of districts in the two places have brought about large-scale demolition. Since those relocated households with huge pockets want to buy houses, many choose to go to the city and buy in the old Hangzhou city. A large number of Wenzhou real estate speculators, Yuwu real estate speculators, Taizhou real estate speculators, Shaoxing real estate speculators, etc. poured into Hangzhou. Several armies competed in Hangzhou, making Hangzhou an expanded city. Space, compared with their growing needs, became insignificant. They couldn't buy a house or get a housing number in the old town of Hangzhou, so they went to Xiaoshan and Yuhang instead. Soon, the newly built areas and the old city were full of prosperity. The number of real estate agencies in Hangzhou has doubled from 75 in 1999 to 151 in 2000. The emergence of a large number of these intermediaries has not only pushed up the price of new houses, but also pushed up the prices of second-hand houses. People who sell second-hand houses will of course buy new houses with higher prices if they have more money. Anyway, when the new house becomes a second-hand house, I will make money again. Some people are happy about the rising trend of real estate in Hangzhou, but more people are worried. Not only are ordinary citizens who really need to buy new houses and improve their living conditions, they can be said to be angry, which puts a lot of pressure on the local government. Before this year's Spring Housing Fair, the directors of the Hangzhou Construction Bureau and the Housing Authority personally called all real estate developers participating in the fair and asked them to offer as many houses as possible and not to hold back on selling or be reluctant to sell. Even the deputy director in charge of urban construction, the mayor, called Lu Ligan and told him that if you continue to cover up the situation, something big will happen, and you won't even be able to find your grave even if you cry. Lu Ligan promised, "Don't worry, boss, I will definitely not cover the market. I know the reason behind this. I will not be happy now and cry all the way in the future." Okay, Mr. Lu, you can get the general idea in this way. I won't say much else. After the deputy mayor finished speaking, he hung up the phone. After the deputy mayor finished calling, calls came from the directors of the Construction Bureau, Land Management Bureau and Housing Management Bureau. Even Director Chu of the Land Acquisition and Storage Center called. Lu Ligan was curious. He said, "Director Chu, they are selling land. Selling houses is none of your business. Our houses are expensive, so don't we have more money to buy land from you? Suppressing housing prices is now the biggest political issue in Hangzhou. Do you want me to take care of it?" Director Chu asked. Lu Ligan laughed and said, "Since this is the biggest political issue, don't set the starting price of your land so high. I set a price of $1 per square meter, and you won't raise the price any higher." "I was scared when I saw the madness of you lunatics at the auction venue," Director Chu said. "Don't come here," Lu Ligan scolded. "Apart from the biggest politics, Director Chu, honestly speaking, are you very excited to see such a scene?" Director Chu didn't answer, but hung up the phone directly. Lu Ligan held the phone and really wanted to be like a slut, scolding you for forcing him to raise you. You are the culprit. In the whole of Hangzhou, not only is there a real estate fair, but the housing prices are just a wave of increase. Aren't new land kings constantly appearing in every land auction? Our real estate company has reached the point where we are waiting to die if we don't take the land, and we don't know if we will die if we take the land. Why are you still talking about us? The Dadi Company in Beijing took over the land formerly occupied by Du Jinsheng on Fengqi Road in June last year and became the land king. Half a year later, it is already looking for someone to take over. None of the local real estate companies in Hangzhou Dongdong, waiting to see a joke. Lu Ligan called Tan Shahen and Lao Tan over, and the three of them took inventory. Lu Ligan also told them about the phone calls to him. They also agreed to understand the general situation and take out as many houses as possible. Source: at this Hangzhou real estate fair, not only Lu Ligan and his company know the general, but other real estate companies participating in the exhibition also know the general. It can be said that several directors personally called to say hello, which still worked. Real estate developers in Hangzhou launched a total of about 20 million square meters of real estate at the opening of this housing fair, creating the most in all previous housing fairs. Before the launch, the Hangzhou city government and relevant departments felt relieved when they saw the real estate developers participating in the exhibition and the exhibition plans and housing listings reported. They believed that this time, such a large number of housing listings would be launched at once, which would definitely being able to meet market demand will play a significant role in suppressing housing prices in Hangzhou. When the real estate fair opened, what surprised everyone was that soon there was another record high in all previous real estate fairs, that is, the number of citizens attending the fair this time also reached a new record in history. At the real estate fair site, citizens queuing up to buy a house and pay a deposit is almost crazy. Different from the previous housing fairs, what made Lu Ligan feel familiar and frightened was that a large number of ordinary citizens participated in real estate speculation, including those tail brothers riding tricycles, taxi drivers, and people in the vegetable market. Fish and meat sellers, as well as teachers from many schools, all participated in the team to grab housing numbers. Lu Ligan looked at this familiar scene. For a moment, he even fell into a trance, feeling that he saw Yilan's mother, Wen Wen, and Qian in the crowd. At the exhibition site, a house number was increased by up to 100,000 yuan, and some people bought it. Crazy, crazy! Even the real estate developers participating in the exhibition called each other so, feeling that this time it was not that they were crazy, but that they were crazy. House buyers are crazy. Among the people rushing to buy house numbers here, someone soon discovered the figures of real estate agencies. They were hoarding house numbers in dozens or dozens of places, preparing to resell them to buyers who came to their company. Lu Ligan called the real estate developers participating in the exhibition to the lobby bar of the nearby hotel and reported the matter. Everyone felt that this was a very dangerous signal. If these intermediaries held the room numbers in their hands, they would eventually, if they can't take action, what they lose is 10,000 yuan per house number. The developer has lost so many houses, so they must take action. But on how to act, everyone immediately disagreed. Lu Ligan proposed a purchase limit, and one person could only buy one account. Many people immediately opposed it. They said that those Wenzhou guys, Shaoxing guys, and Taizhu guys would all come here. They are buying several houses. If there is a purchase limit, it will restrict them. But they pay the house payment on time every time. After discussing for a long time, everyone finally accepted the resolution that only one number can be purchased for one ID card. After the meeting, Lu Ligan looked at the backs of these people and cursed, "What a humming bunch of people." Meng Ping, who was attending the grand event, laughed loudly on the sidelines. He said, "Gangzi, don't be naive. With this ID card, you can only buy one room number. If you can persist until the hotel closes tonight, it will be good." Sure enough, Meng Ping's words came true. After everyone returned, less than an hour after the decision was implemented, they started selling casually again. The people below asked Lu Ligan, "Mr. Lu, should we insist on it?" Lu Ligan scolded, "Forget it, we will do what others do." Meng Ping and Zhang Chen laughed, and Meng Ping shouted, "Come on, open the gate and release the water." On the second day of the real estate fair, Lu Ligan and Meng Ping were both sitting in Zhang Chen's office. Lu Ligan went there for a day, but the next day he didn't even dare to go to the real estate fair. He said that he would just go there. Looking for death, there were too many people asking for his room number at the scene. You know, this is a business where you can make money just by turning around. There was such a long queue at the scene, with so many pairs of eyes staring at him. How dare he let others cut in the queue? How dare he open the back door? If he was discovered, he might be beaten to a pulp. He didn't dare to stay in his company's office. If someone couldn't find him on site, they would go to his office. He didn't even dare to answer the phone. When he answered, he basically asked for his room number. This time all the rooms, however, the housing authority requested that all of them be announced on site in advance. If a few suddenly disappeared and were discovered by people queuing up on site, then everyone in my company will be beaten into mincemeat. Lu Ligan said. The key is that your wife will turn into minced meat, Meng Ping said, and Zhang Chen laughed. As soon as she said she was your wife, she arrived. Tan Shahen hurried in from outside the door. As soon as she came in, she said, "What should I do? All other companies are increasing their prices today. Should we increase the price?" Originally, the three giants of their splendid land had already agreed that since it was the biggest political issue in Hangzhou, they would respond to the call and not increase the price of houses during this housing fair. How much has it increased? Lu Ligan asked. 300 to 800, Tan Shahen said. Everyone has gone up. Yes, without exception, except us. Then what should we do? Lu Ligan asked Tan Shahen. Tan Shahen glared at him and cursed, "I came here in a hurry just to ask you. What should you do if you ask me?" What to do, of course, open the floodgates and release the water, Meng Ping scolded. You think you are a charity, just 301 square meters. In this way, your losses will be calculated in hundreds of millions, right? Tan Shahen nodded. Lu Ligan thought for a while and said, "Whether the mayor or several directors called me, they just asked me not to cover the market. They didn't say that prices were not allowed to increase, right? We followed the increase and did not violate the biggest rule. Politics, right?" No, no, the horse is rising, Meng Ping shouted. Before Lu Ligan could speak, Tan Shahen had already called. On the other end of the phone, Xiao Lu, the general manager of their sales department, said. We will also raise the prices immediately, by 500 for Sky City and 800 for Old Town. Thank you Huaxin Yongxiao for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1253. The popularity of this Hangzhou real estate fair has once again attracted the attention of domestic media. This time, the attention is different from the past, with more doubts. The average house price in Hangzhou has led Beijing by more than 1,800 yuan. 1 square meter is more than 1,100 yuan per square meter, leading Shanghai. Especially at the Hangzhou Real Estate Fair, the phenomenon of thousands of people speculating on real estate numbers is very reminiscent of the scenes before the real estate bubble burst in Hainan and Bihai, Guangxi. Some media have predicted that the real estate bubble in Hangzhou will not only it has been formed, and it has reached a very dangerous point and is about to burst. The well-known domestic finance magazine published an article Hangcheng Property Market False Fire, which aroused national attention. The media's doubts also aroused the vigilance and attention of the central leadership, who instructed relevant departments to investigate the matter as soon as possible. Soon, a state office was formed to take the lead and comprised relevant personnel from the State Planning Commission, the People's Bank of China, the Ministry of Construction, and the Land and Resources Bureau. an investigation team was formed and went to Hangzhou to investigate the real estate market in Hangzhou. The Hangzhou city government has moved from the old office area between Yan'an Road and Ding'an Road to Huanchen North Road. The original old house was sold to a Malaysian company to develop a shopping mall. Li Yang's office is on the 16th floor of the city government office building. The new office building is not close to the West Lake, but because all the houses from here to the West Lake have height restrictions, the city government building is already the tallest building. Looking out the window of Li Yang's office, looking to the left, one can see Hangcheng Building, Woolen Square, and Lu Ligan's Hangzhou Center. To the right, you can see the vast West Lake. Someone knocked on the door and Li Yang said, "Come in." The door opened and it was his secretary. The secretary told Li Yang, "Mayor Li, someone is looking for." Before the secretary finished speaking, a figure appeared from behind him and shouted, "Li Yang." Li Yang's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Lao Ding." Liaoding is not old, he is as old as Li Yang. He is tall and thin, with a wide forehead and high cheekbones. Li Yang always said that he has the spirit of immortality. Liaoding's nickname is still Li Yang. It was given to him because when he sat there alone, he would soon appear in a state of deep meditation. Li Yang said that he was in trance. If he is always in trance, it is called Liaoding. Lao Ding is Li Yang's colleague in the State Council office. He can be said to be a subordinate, but Li Yang likes to say he is a comrade in arms and a partner. When Li Yang was the deputy director, he was the section chief. When Li Yang was the section chief, he was the section chief. It was the deputy department. Li Yang left the state office and went to Qingdao, while Lao Ding continued to stay there and is now the deputy director of the secretariat. This time, the State Council took the lead and led an investigation team to investigate the real estate market in Hangzhou. It was the team led by Lao Ding. The investigation team was sent from the top down. There are many forms. One is of course because something went wrong below. Or there is a sudden major incident, and the investigation team organized by the higher UPS comes with the intention of investigating and dealing with it, so there is a bit of chaos, and everyone below is in danger. Like Lao Ding and others, they came this time not because they thought something was wrong with Hangzhou, but because a phenomenon had occurred. The media and scholars had different opinions. Some said that a real estate bubble had appeared in Hangzhou and that the bubble was about to burst. Some people even bluntly said that the supply of land in Hangzhou has increased significantly year after year, but the number of housing completions in Hangzhou has not increased much. This is an unreasonable phenomenon, indicating that the land has not been fully utilized, or it has been used by companies that are unable to develop it. The most terrifying thing is that the real estate developers in Hangzhou are making plans. They have simply gone from covering the market to covering the land. However, some professors from several universities in Zhejiang, through close observation and research, believe that the reason why housing prices in Hangzhou remain high is due to normal market demand and the superposition of several factors. This is the reason why the Hangzhou city government has, as a result of the city's management and the proposition of living in Hangzhou during the 1990s, Hangzhou has become the back garden of Shanghai. Many Shanghainese have also gone to Hangzhou to buy houses. As for the Hangzhou city government, its efforts in changing the living and business environment in Hangzhou in recent years are obvious to all. This can be seen from the Investment Environment Survey report on 23 Chinese cities published by the World Bank. This can be seen from the fact that it ranked first and was listed as the city with the best investment environment together with Shanghai. At the same time, when looking at the real estate market in Hangzhou, we cannot look at Hangzhou alone, but look at Zhejiang itself, which is one of the provinces with the most developed private economy in the country. Many housing purchase demands from other places in the province are pouring into Hangzhou. Was released, which is a rare situation in other cities. The Wenzhou Real Estate Speculator Group, Yuwu Real Estate Speculator Group, Taizhou Real Estate Speculator Group, Shaoxing Real Estate Speculator Group, etc., Several groups are vying for Hangzhou, which does not mean that Hangzhou's real estate bubble has formed, but it just happens that it can be seen that the real estate market in Hangzhou is supported by strong market demand. At the same time, Hangzhou is also a sub-provincial city that has expanded rapidly in recent years. Not only has the Binjiang district been newly developed, but it has also been merged into Xiaoshan and Yuhang districts. The expansion of the city itself has brought huge demand for commercial housing. These are normal situations. The divergent opinions of the media and scholars have aroused the vigilance and attention of central leaders. This vigilance and attention is not that they think there is any problem in Hangzhou, but that the burst of Hainan's real estate bubble in the past few years has left a lasting impression on people. The impression was too profound, the damage caused was too great, and the sequelae were delayed for too long. It can be said that since the real estate bubble burst in Hainan, the development of the entire Hainan has stagnated and been frozen, and there is still no sign of recovery. Hangzhou is not comparable to Haikan, and Zhejiang is even less comparable to Hainan. Zhejiang's economic weight and proportion in the country are very important. If something goes wrong in Zhejiang, it will spread to the entire Yangtze River Delta and the whole country. And from the Hangzhou real estate market, the current situation does have some echoes of Hainan's past, so the central government promptly dispatched an investigation team. This investigation team came not with the mission of investigation, but with the mission of finding out the situation and seeing what the real estate market in Hangzhou was like. Bringing such an investigation team with him made it a lot easier for Lao Ding, so as soon as he arrived in Hangzhou, he came to see his old colleague Li Yong. As for the lower-level local governments, no matter what the purpose of the investigation team sent by the central government is, they will definitely take it seriously. The secretary and the mayor immediately knew that the person who led the team to Hangzhou this time was Li Yong. Old colleagues gave the task of receiving the investigation team to the deputy mayor in charge of urban construction and Li Yong. Li Yong is in charge of culture, education, and health. This investigation originally had nothing to do with him, but when the mayor called him and asked him to attend the dinner to welcome the investigation team that evening, Li Yong knew that this was because of Lao Ding's reason. Putting down the phone, Li Yong cursed at Lao Ding, "You humming dragged me into trouble again. I just came here. I already have a lot of things to do here. I am too busy to deal with it. Now I have to deal with you, this plague god." Lao Ding laughed and said, "I'll let you eat and drink together, isn't that okay?" Li Yong scolded, you, do I need some food and drink?" Li Yong himself came from the State Affairs Office. Of course he knew the purpose of Lao Ding and the others coming this time, which was to find out. There was nothing wrong. If they were tasked with investigating and punishing, Lao Ding would not run to him as soon as they arrived. When the office comes, I won't drag him into it. Out of the comradeship of my old colleagues, I will try my best to keep him away from the matter. When Lao Ding came, Li Yong knew about it. Lao Ding looked at Li Yong and smiled. He said, "Li Yong, you should be good. I came with other purposes this time. Be careful and I will interfere with you." 1. Li Yong was surprised and asked, "What other purpose do you have?" Lao Ding smiled slyly, "I heard that the beauties in Hangzhou are the best in the world. When I come this time, my sister-in-law specially asked me to come and say hello." "Go away, how about you arrange one for me?" Li Yong cursed, and Lao Ding laughed. Lao Ding is the same age as Li Yong, but Li Yong's wife is 1 year older than them and is also their colleague, so Lao Ding, Li Yong's wife, has always been called sister-in-law. Because the purpose of coming this time is very simple, and Lao Ding and Li Yong have such a relationship, such an investigation is actually beneficial to the local leaders. If the investigation results come out and hidden dangers are found, they can follow the instructions of the investigation team and take preventive measures in a timely manner. If not, the investigation team will give an appropriate affirmation. So whether there is or not, one thing is certain, that is, the work of the two leaders will definitely be seen by the central leaders. This is the most important thing. The atmosphere of the dinner was very harmonious, and the guests and hosts had a great time. After it was over, the other members of the investigation team took the city government van back to the hotel. Lao Ding and Li Yong said, "We are on your territory. How can it end like this? You send me, go to my room and talk more." Li Yong said, "Okay, anyway, I was staying in the same hotel with you." Li Yong had just arrived and had no family members, so he was not in a hurry to ask the Agency Affairs Bureau to arrange housing. Instead, he stayed at the Xingxin Hotel. Lao Ding and the others also stayed at the Xingxin Hotel this time, and had the dinner at the Xingqiao Hotel. The two people walked to the door below, but did not see the car. Lao Ding asked, "Li Yong, where is your car?" Li Yong pointed to the right and said, "Over there." "That's awesome, Li Yong. When you get to Hangzhou, you drive by yourself," Lao Ding shouted. Li Yong said, "Yes, I drive myself to and from get off work every day." The two people walked to the side of Xingqiao Hotel. Lao Ding was confused. This was a road. There were a row of bicycles parked on the side of the road. What kind of parking lot was there? Li Yong walked down the steps, took out the key from his pocket, and unlocked a bicycle. He turned around and looked at Lao Ding, who was still stunned on the steps. He couldn't help laughing. Li Yong patted the bag rack of the bicycle. Asked Lao Ding, "This is my special car. Do you want to take it? If not, you can take a taxi. Sit down, the deputy mayor will be my driver. No one else has this kind of treatment. Why don't you just sit down and let's go?" Lao Ding shouted. Li Yong rode on the car, and Lao Ding followed behind. After 2 steps, he jumped onto the school bag rack. "Thank you for being half drunk, half awake, ranked third from top to bottom, flipping through books every day, and giving the reward at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you for your monthly votes from Purple Hay, Light, and Light, Blue Imagination, Flowers and Boys, Book Friends 2020092217230863 and Book Friends 201912170332388847. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1254. Xingxin Hotel is located on the edge of Baila Lake, also called Lixi Lake. It is an old hotel during the Republic of China. Lu Xun, Su's Haimo, Hu Shi, Li Shutong, Chen Bray, etc. all often stayed here. Xingxin Hotel also appeared in their hotels many times. In the article, in front of the hotel is Baishan Road. Crossing Baishan Road to the opposite side, you will arrive at Baila Lake. Opposite Baila Lake are Gushan and Beatty. Standing at the gate of Xingxin Hotel, you can see the broken bridge and the bridge across the lake. You can clearly see Hintai Bridge and even Lin Hejing's Crane Fang Pavilion at the foot of Gushan Mountain. The road from Xingqiao Hotel to Xingxin Hotel is not far, and it only takes about 20 minutes by bike. Li Yong took Lao Ding and walked along Wushan Road next to the Xingqiao Hotel. At night, Wushan Road is the famous Wushan night market in Hangzhou. It mainly sells some real and fake antiques, interspersed with the buying and selling of US dollars and smuggled cigarettes. There are souvenirs from Hangzhou, original overseas tapes that have been stamped by the customs, and there is even a famous Wushan roasted poultry restaurant. Li Yong rode forward for a while and then shouted, come down, come down." Lao Ding jumped down from the bag rack. There were so many people in the night market that there was no way to ride. The two of them could only push the bike. After walking forward for a while, Lao Ding shouted, "Wait a minute." Li Yong stood there holding the bicycle. He saw Lao Ding running to Wushan roast poultry shop and returning after a while, holding roast chicken, braised beef, vegetarian chicken and orchid beans, as well as a bottle of Red Star Urquhatu. Li Yong scolded, "You just finished eating and you want to eat? Midnight snack, today we are going to have an all-nighter." "How can we do it without this?" Lao Ding said. "Then you should have said it earlier," Li Yong said, "there are so many leftovers ahead, it's enough to pack them back." "Screw you, do you have the nerve to pack up in this kind of situation?" Lao Ding looked at Li Yong with suspicion on his face. Li Yong said, "What's the matter? You're sorry. Tell me quietly that I can fight. I'm not afraid. I often do this kind of thing." Lao Ding shook his head and cursed, Li Yong, you are too ungrateful as a deputy mayor. Don't say you are from the state office in the future. We cannot afford to lose face." "Screw you, I'm just trying to show off to the state council." "Why, are you used to extravagance and waste now?" Li Yong asked. "It doesn't matter. This has nothing to do with extravagance and waste." Lao Ding lifted the bag in his hand and said, "Besides, my brother is not a person who can't even afford this thing. Let's go, let's go." The two of them crossed Wushan Road and arrived at the Postal Road. The night market ended here, and the crowd suddenly stopped. Li Yong got on the bike, and Lao Ding immediately jumped on. Li Yong rode his bicycle, turned right when he reached Yan'an Road, turned left when he rode to Changsheng Road, 200 meters away, turned right onto Dongpo Road, crossed Qingchun Road, arrived at Jiaochang Road in front, turned left 100 meters away, and there he was. Go on Huancheng West Road for about 100 meters and you will arrive at the intersection of Baishan Road and Huancheng West Road. Turn left onto Baishan Road. Once you reach Baishan Road, you will reach the edge of the West Lake. I'll go, Li Yong, you are now a living map of Hangzhou, and I dare to say that you have just arrived." Lao Ding sat in the back and couldn't help shouting. Li Yong smiled and said, "When I have nothing to do at night, I ride around on my bicycle. Of course I am familiar with it." Mayor Li pays a private visit incognito. "Private interview is a ghost," Li Yong scolded. "I was alone in the office. I felt dizzy after reading the materials and had nowhere to go, so I took advantage of get off work to wander around. After riding past Wanghu Tower, we reached the intersection of Xi'an Road and turned left towards Broken Bridge and Beatty. We continued walking along Baishan Road. After riding for 5 or 6 minutes, we arrived at the entrance of Xingxin Hotel. The two of them entered the Xingxin Hotel. Li Yong lived in the building in the back garden, and Lao Ding lived on the 3rd floor of the room facing the lake in front. Lao Ding asked Li Yong, "Should I go to your place or mine?" Li Yong said, "It's better to go to my place. As the team leader, there will be too many people in the room looking for you." "Why, as the mayor, no one is looking for you?" Lao Ding asked. Li Yong said, "Few people know that I live here and they haven't told me." Lao Ding understood and said, "Let's go, I'd better go to your place for peace and quiet." The two people walked out of a door at the back of the lobby, which was a garden. At the other end of the garden was the Jingguan Hall. Li Yong lived on the 2nd floor of the building next to the Jingguan Hall. Behind him was Baisi Mountain, and in front of him was the garden. A forest of French plane trees, and some Bila Lake can still be vaguely seen. Li Yong's room was a suite, but it was no different from an ordinary hotel suite. If you didn't know better, you would have thought that Li Yong was a guest staying here overnight. There were almost no personal furniture and supplies of his in the room. The two people sat down on the sofa in the living room outside. Lao Ding saw that there were 2 wooden boxes near the corner. The ropes tied outside the wooden boxes were not even untied. Inside were 2 large boxes of books. These 2 boxes of books were still Li Yong brought him to Beijing from Guizhou, then to Qingdao, and then to Hangzhou. Even though Li Yong got married, these 2 boxes of books were not left at home in Beijing, but continued to travel with him. He said that he always felt that there would be time soon to open them and take a look, but there was never time. It would be a pity to throw them away. Anyway, I was used to carrying them, so I just took them with me. The two of them didn't wait for midnight snack. Although they were not hungry, they opened the stewed vegetables bought by Liaoding on the coffee table. Li Yong found 2 teapots, put the erkuatu into his mouth, and bit the bottle cap with his teeth. Open it, pour the wine into the tea vat, sit down, and chat while drinking. The two of them had a lot to talk about. Liaoding found every detail of Li Yong leaving the state office and going to work in local areas very fresh, and the people and things in the state office that Liaoding mentioned always evoked Li Yong's emotions. In retrospect, once the conversation started between the two of them, they had no intention of stopping. After talking about the affairs of the State Council and Li Yong's stay in Qingdao, we then talked about Li Yong's arrival in Hangzhou. Li Yong said that there was nothing to talk about. He had just arrived and everything was unfamiliar. By the way, let me tell you what you are planning to do this time. If you ask me tomorrow, I will be well prepared. Li Yong said that when he asked, he must be referring to the two bosses above. When the investigation team comes, they will definitely want to know the real trump card of the investigation team. It's the same as before. Didn't you always do this before? Liaoding said with a smile. We will start working separately tomorrow. The People's Bank of China will go to the bank to learn about the real estate development loan situation and housing mortgage situation in Hangzhou. The Ministry of Construction and the Land and Resources Bureau, and also went to their corresponding units to learn about the status of land auctions and the completion and acceptance of commercial housing. Me and the planning committee met with the university and the Academy of Social Sciences. After summarizing their respective situations, we randomly sampled several pieces of land that have been transferred and projects under construction. Of course, we need to check several major real estate companies in Hangzhou to see if they are covering up land or property, and whether they are making false sales to drive up housing prices. What Liaoding said was indeed the general process of a similar investigation team. However, when Li Yong heard that he wanted to inspect the real estate company, he couldn't help but ask. Do you have a list of the real estate companies you want to go to? As for the big ones, the first place to go is of course Jinxiudadi, Zhejiang, Liaoding said. Li Yong's heart skipped a beat. He didn't know anything about Lu Ligan's company now. He didn't know if there were any problems with their development funds, or if they were covering up their business. He didn't know if they had any problems. The problem of false sales. However, Li Yong knows the entire process. After investigation, even if there are no problems in the real estate market in Hangzhou, if he finds that these real estate companies have such problems, he will definitely put them forward as suggestions for rectification. Once the name of a company appears in the investigation report, you will definitely be investigated and punished as a measure to implement the rectification opinions, and then reported as the result of the rectification. Your company's reputation can be said to be great because of this, but this is not a good thing. The relevant departments will pay special attention to you frequently. Li Yong hesitated for a long time, but finally couldn't help it. He picked up the wine glass and said to Liaoding, Liaoding, this beautiful land of Zhejiang. Liaoding looked at Li Yong and understood. He asked, does it matter? Li Yong nodded. Liaoding was secretly surprised. All his colleagues in the unit knew that Li Yong was a stone in the pit, smelly and hard. He could handle the things Lao Yu told him, but he would never quarrel with others because of his own affairs. He opened his mouth and saw Li Yong's expression. Liaoding knew that this guy was greeting him. This was a big surprise to Liaoding. Liaoding joked. Why, Li Yong, I have also done my homework. I heard that the general manager of Zhejiang Jinxiudadi is a very famous beauty. Why, you want to go to the trouble of a beautiful woman? Go away, it's their boss Lu Ligan, that's my brother Li Yong said. Liaoding looked at him and Li Yong said, we used to be in Hainan together, we are the kind of brothers who can fight hard. Liaoding nodded and understood. Li Yong said, I don't know the situation of their company, I don't know if they have these things, I just want to say, If they do, Lao Ding, you tell me, I will ask them to rectify it, don't write it in. We've got it, Li Yong. Lao Ding picked up the cup, clinked it with Li Yong, and drank it all in one gulp. He knew that Li Yong generally didn't ask for help. If he spoke, it meant that this guy named Lu was indeed a real person to him. He is very important and a brother who can work hard. Li Yong was also a little surprised by his behavior. His opening words shocked him, but if he didn't speak, Li Yong felt that there was nothing he could do. Although he wanted to sort out these relationships as soon as he arrived in Hangzhou, and even had plans to end them completely, but when he really wanted to do it, it was just like the breakup wine. Once there was a beginning, there would be no end. The ending is also a reversal. At the same time, Li Yong seemed to have one thing very clear in his heart. He understood that Lu Ligan was the kind of person who would not do anything extravagant, let alone the kind of person who would do anything for a little benefit. Li Yong believed in him. No. As soon as he and Lao Ding opened their mouths, it was as if they were engaging in a gamble, and Lu Ligan was his betting capital. Li Yong felt that he had to take the gamble no matter what, even if he couldn't help himself. Liaoding and the others stayed in Hangzhou for more than a week, and also went to Ningbo and Wenzhou. Finally, the Central Investigation Team concluded that the development of real estate in Hangzhou and even Zhejiang was basically healthy. Before leaving, Lao Ding came to Li Yong's office specially. Li Yong looked at him, knowing what he was going to say to him, and suddenly felt a little nervous. Lao Ding and Li Yong said, "Don't worry, Zhejiang Jinxiu Co., Limited has not found any violations. Their optional actions and prescribed actions are all in compliance with the regulations and there are no problems. For your sake, brother, I checked very carefully. Worried that you will be led into a pit by them accidentally, but no, you can feel free to date." Li Yong took a long breath. Sure enough, Lu Ligan did not let himself lose money. However, their Mr. Tan is indeed beautiful. Lao Ding looked at Li Yong and added with a smile. Li Yong glared at Lao Ding, who continued to smile and said, "Okay, I will tell my sister-in-law when I get back that Li Yong is hungry and cold in Hangzhou and needs her urgent help. Thank you Zhang Qi and Quiet Room for your monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1255. After Lao Ding and his investigation team returned to Beijing, Li Yong thought about it. He really didn't understand the situation of Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan's company. This lack of understanding was actually a deliberate avoidance on his part, and he seemed to be protecting himself subconsciously. "I feel that as long as I don't know anything, their affairs have nothing to do with me." How is that possible? Just like Zhang Chen said that day, if something happened to him, he couldn't care less. In fact, he had already been taking care of it. Ever since he learned that he was transferred to Beijing, wasn't the way he called him to show that he was taking care of it? One day, if something happens to them, can Li Yong really turn a blind eye? Is it okay to just ignore it? Looking at it now, it is obviously impossible. People don't live in a vacuum. You can't abstract yourself from real life and become just a job title tag on the office door, deputy mayor, or something on the conference table during a meeting. That famous brand, leadership, you can't live behind just these two famous brands. Li Yong thought that after arriving in Hangzhou, he seemed to want to shrink himself behind these two famous brands and protect himself wisely. He went to and from get off work every day and made countless calls, but he never made any calls to Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan. They seemed to know something. Although they failed to break off diplomatic relations last time, they also felt that the relationship between them and themselves was no longer the upstairs-downstairs relationship they had when they were in Haikan, nor was it the relationship they had when they were in Guizhou. When they arrive, you can rely on them and let them provide money. There was already an invisible gap between them, and because of this, they never called themselves. The friends who originally talked about everything and wished they could hang out with each other every day were closer in space, but the actual distance was already far away. Li Yong lived a very lonely life in the city, with no family or friends. When he had nothing to do at night, he would rather ride his bicycle and wander around the street alone than go to Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan's place. Although he knew that it was easy to find them, just a phone call away, but since the night of the Lantern Festival, after he, Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, and many others had dinner together, they had never been together again. And never made a call. In fact, the relationship between them has become less equal. There is no friendship between the mayor and the citizens. They are all lies. Otherwise, there would be no need for armed police on duty at the gate of the city hall. There is no need to move the petition office, which has the most contact with citizens, to the outside of the compound and completely isolated from the compound. Without exception, almost all government agencies at all levels in the country have agreed that the doors of the petition office should be opened outside the courtyard gate. This is the most practical relationship. Zhang Chen and Lu Lizan are both sensible people. They know that if they call Li Yong again, they will be disturbing. From Li Yong's side, isn't he shrinking back and protecting himself wisely? It wasn't until Lao Ding came this time that Li Yong realized that he actually couldn't shrink down. The love of brotherhood cannot be blocked by those two famous brands. Lao Ding's words also reminded Li Yong. Lao Ding said that he cleared mines for himself to avoid being taken into the pit. Li Yong thought, why can Lao Ding do this but he can't? Why can't he? Clear minefields for yourself and get to know more about Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan. If they weren't mines, would you still be afraid that they would explode on you? Even if you do this, you still protect yourself wisely, but objectively you also protect them. They don't often walk by the river, so how can their shoes not get wet? Instead, they swim in the water all year round, and they have already been wet. As a friend, do you have the responsibility to remind them to be careful not to drown? Li Yong is not worried about Zhang Chen. What Zhang Chen does is relatively simple. Whether it is a factory, a foreign trade company, a sporting goods market, or a lakeside oil painting gallery, there is not so much between him and power. The intersection and blending. Nowadays, if a businessman drowns, if it is not a problem of funds, in 9 cases out of 10, it is because he has not properly dealt with the issue of blending the interests of people like himself in the public sector. Li Yong is not too worried about Zhang Chen. First, Zhang Chen himself does not like to deal with the outside world. He likes to live in his own world. It seems that only in his own world is his comfortable living area. Secondly, what he does is not the kind of thing that can only survive and grow by being parasitic and attached to power. His relationship with relevant departments is, at most, sending cigarettes and alcohol during holidays, so courtesy intercourse. This kind of relationship can be explained clearly and there is nothing dangerous about it. And when he reaches his current scale, the minions in the yamen no longer dare to provoke him, and the heads of each department will maintain a respectful attitude towards him. After all, he is doing well there, and he is giving himself a premium. It's a matter of fact, and he really doesn't need to rely on himself. His company and business really can't be helped even if you want to. Can you send a document to the whole world and order them to place orders for half-acre field, or can you call on all consumers to buy half-acre field clothing? What Li Yong is more worried about is Lu Ligan. Although land has basically been auctioned and listed in various places now, and the land itself has become less tricky, there are still huge interests attached to the land. Li Yong can do it himself. After this, even if this area is not in his charge, he will understand it at a glance. For example, although all land is subject to bidding, auction, and listing, what everyone pays in the early stage is only a deposit. The subsequent payment of the land transfer fee is flexible. There is no clear regulation on how long you must pay after the auction. Even if there is such a provision to pay the entire land payment, various reasons can still be created for late payment or payment in batches. Even if there is no reason to create, the relevant departments can still choose to open or close the eyes, and the time to close the eyes can also be decided artificially. The difference between opening the eyes and closing the eyes is huge. The benefits are even greater. For a real estate company, if you only have 200 million in capital, and based on the current land price, you can only buy a piece of land. If there is prior reconciliation, the relevant people will choose to close their eyes by default, and you can boldly these 200 million were divided into 10 parts and turned into deposits for 10 pieces of land to acquire 10 pieces of land. As for the subsequent land transfer money, as long as you have land in hand, you have various possibilities for realizing it. If you have a bank relationship, you can directly mortgage the land to the bank. You only need to raise the transfer fee for a piece of land and mortgage it piece by piece. Turning over sesame seeds again. According to the current real estate situation, you can still transfer 3 or 4 pieces of land at a premium without giving you the land certificate. At this time, it becomes an advantage. You don't even need short-term funds for a U-turn, and you can directly change the registration. The money from selling the land was used to directly pay the land transfer fee owed. Or simply, you can directly start the pre-sale of the property, collect the money and then pay the land transfer fee. All this depends on the relevant personnel of the relevant departments, whether they close their eyes slightly, narrow them to a crack, or close them completely. Eyes, sleeping soundly, opening and closing your eyes is delivering benefits several times or dozens of times. When we get to the planning department, the floor area ratio, if the big one is too obvious, what about the small one? What about the number after the decimal point? The floor area ratio is 3.1 and 3.2. The difference is not big, right? It's not eye-catching, and it's not easy to be held accountable, right? But the 0.1 gap, converted into the amount of real estate, is a huge number, and it all happens in the blink of an eye. When you arrive at the construction department, you can close your eyes and ask you to enter the site immediately to start construction, or you can open your eyes and ask you to complete all the procedures before entering the site. The same is true for completion acceptance. You can go for acceptance immediately, or you can delay going. Acceptance, if you can't arrange the time, you can be delayed for a month. Haven't you seen so many projects that need to be accepted? The criteria for acceptance are the same. If you close your eyes, you will pass. If you open your eyes, you will not be able to pass. It can be said that the entire real estate industry is dependent and parasitic on the power of various relevant departments. These relevant departments can make your life easy or make you miserable. No matter how big the project or investment is, no matter how big the project is, no matter how big the investment is, if you are stuck at the level of firefighting, even with a rectification notice, you still have to stop. Be good, don't have too many things that can hold you back. Li Yong understands the ropes, so he is still worried about Lu Ligan. It is not an easy industry to get mixed up in. If your boss wants to keep himself clean, just like that mountaineering and gliding boss who likes to show off, he is said to have never if you don't pay bribes, that's leaving the dirty work to the people below. Li Yong felt that Lu Ligan was more reliable than this pretentious boss, and what worried him most was that Lu Ligan was the kind of guy who would rather do the dirty work himself than let his subordinates take the blame. Although Lao Ding and Li Yong said that there was no problem with Lu Ligan's company, it was only in the items they investigated. How could he know if there were others? Li Yong decided that he still had to go closer and implement it. Man-to-man defense is the way to make friends. Li Yong picked up the phone on his desk and called Zhang Chen. Li Yong said, "Zhang Chen, will you eat your food tonight this weekend?" "Okay, what do you want to eat?" Zhang Chen said. When it came to eating, Li Yong hesitated again, feeling that it would be bad if he was always hanging out in the hotel. Li Yong thought for a while and said. It's more convenient. Just ask the canteen to deliver some dishes to your office. By the way, will the canteen in your dynamic zone cook dinner? Let's do it. This market of mine is open until 9:30 in the evening, Zhang Chen said. In this case, I will ask the Pole to get off work and bring back some seafood. Let's make a side stove. Okay, Li Yong said. Zhang Chen seemed to know what Li Yong was worried about, and said one more thing to him, there is no one else, just me and the Pole, and Xiao Zhao and Tan Shahen. Okay, Li Yong said quickly, feeling that his thoughts seemed to have been piqued by Zhang Chen, and his face felt a little feverish. Thank you Lao Chentang and Riri Fanshu for the reward. Thank you to Zifeng, Qian Dad, Girl Killer VIP, Lao Chentang, no future, just remember the original intention for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you a nice weekend. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1256. Li Yong rode his bicycle to the parking lot downstairs in the dynamic zone. He rode in and rode to the bicycle shed at the end of the parking lot. He locked the bicycle and walked out. He saw Lu Ligan's Aston Martin coming from around the city. Coming around from the north road, Tan Shahen was sitting in the passenger seat. Li Yong stopped and watched them get into the car. Lu Ligan drove the car straight towards Li Yong and almost hit Li Yong. Li Yong stood still and did not give way, just watching the car coming. Tan Shahen already shouting, "Stop, stop." Lu Lapole drove the car until he was still more than 10 centimeters away from Li Yong, and then he braked and stopped the car. What's wrong with you? Tan Shahen cursed and waved her hand towards Li Yong. Lu Ligan pressed down the car window and shouted, on the top of Mount Tai, a green pine stands tall and proud of the sky, an 8,000-mile storm cannot blow it down, and 9,000 thunderbolts cannot blast it, the scorching sun cannot kill it, and the freezing ice and snow are lush and green. Not bad, Li Yong. Li Yong scolded, you, a black-hearted real estate developer, want to use beautiful cars and beautiful women to attack me wildly. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen both laughed. Tan Shahen got out of the car and greeted Li Yong with a smile, hello, Mayor Li. Li Yong quickly waved his hand and called Li Yong. I dare not respond to your call. Lu Ligan asked, why, in front of the mayor, I feel a little guilty. Li Yong ignored him, but reached out and patted the hood, shouting, isn't it a side stove? Where's the seafood? Over there, Tan Shahen quickly said, bye. After saying that, he walked to the trunk, took out a few vest bags, and said to Li Yong, let's go up and ignore him. Li Yong took the vest bag from Tan Shahen, and the two of them went upstairs, while Lu Ligan went to park the car. When they got upstairs, Xiao Zhao was standing in the yard, talking to Ji Ling. When he saw them coming up, he quickly said hello to Li Yong with a smile, walked over, took the bag from him, and went with Tan Shahen. Wash vegetables. Zhang Chen heard the noise outside and stood up. Before he could reach the door, Li Yong had already come in. Zhang Chen asked Li Yong what he wanted to eat and I asked him to deliver it to me. Sweet and sour pork loin, and the pork with pickles and vegetables. Li Yong shouted, I need to eat meat. Zhang Chen smiled and said, in Hangzhou, this is not called braised pork with pickled vegetables, but stuffed pork with molded dried vegetables. The Shaoxing people's method is to use those big pieces of pork belly. Yes, just like those at fast food stalls, Li Yong said. Zhang Chen continued to smile, that's right, it looks like you've eaten a lot of fast food. Zhang Chen called the canteen below and ordered sweet and sour pork tenderloin and stuffed pork with mustard vegetables, as well as several other dishes. Then he went to the cabinet and took out the cassette stove and stainless steel pot. Zhang Chen thought about it, and Li Yong said, "I still have good things." Li Yong asked, "What?" Zhang Chen didn't say anything, but went to the refrigerator and took out a bottle. When Li Yong saw it, he shouted, "Where did the assorted sauce come from? This is the authentic Hainan Essa assorted sauce. Don't I have workers go to Sanya for vacation every month? I asked the hotel manager to buy it for me. The workers brought it back, and this, Hainan soy sauce and Xiaoqing Ju, if you don't have these three things, what else is there to eat here?" Zhang Chen said. Li Yong greatly agreed and exclaimed, "That's great. It's been almost 10 years since I tasted Hainan's assorted sauce." Lu Li came up and shouted when he entered the door, "Zhang Chen, the security below you is not good enough. You are eating everything inside and outside." "What's wrong?" Zhang Chen asked. "Just now, a child scratched my car with his bicycle, and the security guard below you persuaded me to forget it," Lu Ligan said. "Then what else do you want to do? Detain the child and let him use his pocket money to compensate you?" Zhang Chen asked. The security guard did the right thing. "Everyone should scratch you, a coquettish guy like you," Li Yong said. "I'll go down later and scratch you too." Zhang Chen laughed. The food from the canteen was served. Xiao Zhao and Tan Shehen also washed and cut the seafood and brought it in. They spread newspapers on the conference table and were ready to eat. Xiao Zhao asked Li Yong, should he drink Maotai or Wulianjai? Li Yong said it was fine, and Lu Ligan shouted, "Xiao Zhao, look around to see if there is any Li Xiangchang wine in the cabinet. Throw it away a long time ago, keep it to occupy more space," Xiao Zhao said. Lu Ligan sighed and said, "It seems that the only die-hard fan of Li Xiangchang Ju is old Lu. Even Xiangchang Li himself already dislikes it." Li Yong leaned back on the chair and raised his head slightly. He held the cigarette between the roots of his index and middle fingers and smoked in an exaggerated manner. While looking at Lu Ligan, he said proudly, "Think carefully, are there any other ways you can irritate me?" Tan Shehen and Xiao Zhao both laughed. Everyone chatted while eating. The more topic today was Li Yong asking Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan about the situation of their company. Lu Ligan was too lazy to answer and asked, "What do you want to do, check the household registration?" "Yes, I need to understand the situation in the city, and of course you and your company," Li Yong said. "Just treat me as a 25-year-old who doesn't understand anything. Through you, I will learn about your industry. Can't we get to know each other better? TCH, you are in charge of culture, education, and health. Why do you care so much about us?" Lu Ligan said. Tan Shehen scolded, "How do you know that someone is just in charge of culture, education, and health, but next year he will be the executive or the mayor?" "That's right, I think Li Yong has a bright future." Xiao Zhao said. Li Yong quickly raised his glass to honor Xiao Zhao and Tan Shehen. When Li Yong asked, Zhang Chen told him in detail. When he asked about Lu Ligan's company, Tan Shehen told him in detail. Later, Li Yong suddenly realized it and said, "Oh, I understand." "What do you know?" Tan Shehen asked. "I know that it's not that Zhangzi didn't tell me, but that he doesn't know anything about the company's business. He is just a bastard in the company, right?" Li Yong said. Zhang Chen laughed loudly and said, "As for the status of the poll in the company, Meng Ping issued the appraisal results 2 years ago." "What did Lao Meng say?" Li Yong asked. "Lao Meng said that the poll is in the company and has been raised up," Zhang Chen said with a smile. You," Tan Shehen scolded, while Lu Ligan chuckled. Next, Tan Shehen talked about the Central Investigation Team's visit to their company. Li Yong pretended not to know and asked, "Why are they here?" "They said they were investigating whether there was a bubble in the real estate market in Hangzhou, and checking whether our company was covering up land or listings, or using false sales to drive up housing prices," Tan Shehen said. "They investigated very carefully." "Do you have any," Li Yong asked. Of course not. When it comes to covering up properties, we have indeed done it, but that was a year or two ago. Not only did we cover it ourselves, but the relevant departments also asked us to cover it up. In order to allow us to reserve enough housing for use at the real estate fair, since last year, I don't dare to cover it up anymore, Tan Shahan said calmly. Why? Li Yong asked. Money is not enough, we need to withdraw funds quickly to secure land. Now, our company's capital flow rate is very high. When the house money comes in, it becomes land over there. We predict that real estate will not be like it is now for a long time. Cats and dogs can do it. Real estate is a capital and resource intensive industry. There are so many real estate companies, it is unscientific. As the land market becomes more regulated, competition will become more intense, and the result of competition is that only large companies can survive. If we don't make ourselves bigger now, we are likely to be eliminated. In fact, many of our expansion behaviors may seem crazy to others, but they don't know that we are actually forced by the market. Li Yong nodded, and he and Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan said, but there is one thing you should pay attention to. You should pay attention to business risks, but you should also pay attention to policy risks and moral risks. What do you mean? Tan Shahan asked. Real estate is now a focus industry. It is not only the focus of public opinion, but also the focus of attention from top to bottom. The central government is also very concerned about the healthy development of the real estate industry. The policies and measures introduced will definitely become more and more intensive, and supervision will also become more intensive. The government is getting stricter, so don't do things that go against the policy or play side games. It may seem like you can make a small profit, but it's actually not cost effective. There is a saying that it's not that you don't report it. The time has not come yet. It's not that the central government is unaware of the problems existing in the entire real estate market, but it feels that it is still in the seedling stage and in the growth stage. It is inevitable that the good and the bad will be mixed. In terms of policies, there is a certain tolerance, but once the problem becomes serious and there is a risk of intensifying social conflicts, the central government will definitely take action. Once it is taken, it will definitely be vigorous and resolute, and it will be driven to the end. By then, there will definitely be a group of companies that will be unlucky. Who will be unlucky? It is those companies and people who usually like to play sideways and wander on the edge of policies. This is what I say. Yes, we should pay attention to the risks of the policy. There is also moral hazard. It's very simple. The entire real estate industry has now become a hotbed. Everyone is watching. Among them, there will definitely be many people with ulterior motives. To put it bluntly, in each department, there are some people who refuse to stop and are determined to become corrupt officials. There are many times, even if you don't want to deal with them, they will force you to deal with them. It's really like forcing girls into prostitution. They take what's yours and then take what's from other people. Maybe something will happen one day. You must be. It's bad luck, Pole. If you encounter such people and things, I advise you to avoid them even if you don't do this project. Believe me, not many people like this will escape punishment. When that day comes, I don't want to see you being their cannon fodder and burial objects. Whether it is policy risk or moral hazard, if you don't learn to avoid it, in the end, it will become a risk for your company, or even a personal risk. Li Yong is right, Zhang Chen said, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it to sacrifice yourself to be a burial object for these bastards. Lu Li looked at Li Yong steadily and asked, Li Yong, is this the reason why you came to dinner today, to persuade me with all your heart? Li Yong didn't shy away. He nodded and said, yes, that's right. I don't want to lose you friends, and I don't want to see you there one day. Of course, you definitely don't want to go to that place either, am I right? Then let's encourage each other. Gangzi. last time you talked about Lu Changcheng, you said something very good. You said that he opened the door and took the high road. This is indeed the correct way to be an official, but it is the same for your company. We should also open the door and take the high road. It is better not to go out than to take detours and evil paths. I hope that in 10 or 20 years, all of us will not ask for more wealth, but just want to be able to sit together and cook by the fire, drink, and chat. This is better than anything else. Lu Lizan nodded, raised his cup, and said to Li Yong, "Okay, thank you, Li Yong." "Are you afraid that I will stare at you?" Li Yong asked. "Don't be afraid," Lu Ligan said, "I will also keep an eye on you. If one day I find out that you have done something ridiculous, I will go to your office and turn over your desk." "Okay, it's a deal," Li Yong said. "Come on, let's go together too." Tan Shahan said. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao also raised their glasses. "Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you to Li Yuguang 1880-244-7131, Zifeng, Huaxin Yongxiao, and Zongkai 727 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1257. After studying, Huihuan will return to Hangzhou tomorrow. Cao Minfang set up a table in the private room at night, saying it was a farewell party. Huihuan said, "It's better not to have it. The hotel private room is so tight, so we will be in Master Fu's office. Just eat it? How can that be done? You are here today and you are still a student. After you return to Hangzhou, you will be the general manager of Tuxianjiayuan Hotel. From now on, we will be brothers. If I treat you badly, when we go to Hangzhou, are you also going to invite us to eat in the kitchen?" Cao Minfang said. Huihuan smiled and said, "Okay, I will follow Mr. Cao's arrangements." Huihuan stayed in Sanya for more than a month. She seemed to have witnessed Cao Minfang become more and more confident in speaking, especially when facing the department managers and supervisors below. There is no longer a discussion tone, but a direct command from top to bottom. Huihuan smiled and said to Cao Minfang, "Sister Cao, you are becoming more and more like a general manager now." Cao Minfang thought for a moment, and it was true. She laughed and said to Huihuan, "I understand it deeply. Huihuan, this is what you have to do when you are a general manager. You will also remember it in the future. The people below are all I was afraid of hard work, so I helped the cleaning staff. When we were doing cleaning together, she turned back and said that I was not clean here and there, as if she was my leader. I walked over directly and asked her to clean up here and there. If she didn't clean up, I would scold her, but she behaved. I finally understood that the general manager couldn't do everything by himself, especially if he followed up. Hygiene, go and do hygiene." Huihuan laughed, and Cao Minfang also laughed. She said, "It's true, I won't lie to you. The same is true for the following department managers and supervisors. Have you seen that when I discussed anything with them, they would say you don't understand anything? If you just give an order, they would say you are capable. Strong, like a strong woman." Huihuan thought about it, and it seemed that this was really the case. When she first came here, people here seemed to be indifferent when talking about Cao Minfang. But now, everyone admires her and says she has courage. More and more. The relationship between this person and other people seems to really cancel each other out. When 2 people are together, an aura will be formed. When 3 or 4 people are together, auras will also be formed. In between, if someone acts strong, others will naturally become weak. A dictator is super strong, so his entire country becomes weak. Huihuan knew that there were reasons for Cao Minfang's confidence. First, the business from their hotel rooms was getting better and better, and there were many meetings coming one after another. CAO Minfang had tasted the benefits. There was an unexpected gain that CAO Minfang had not expected. The conferences they first received were all national conferences. They seemed small in scale, but those department directors came from all over the country. After they returned, someone contacted CAO Minfang and held their provincial meeting here. This was really unexpected. CAO Minfang predicts that with the next training of the directors of the National County Level Tax Bureau, will county-level meetings from all over the country be attracted to Sanya? Xiao Ding told her that this is entirely possible, because for these units, all they need to do to hold a meeting is send a notice. As for the expenses for attending the meeting, the participants' own unit will bear it, and for these participants for people, of course, the farther away the better for this meeting. Who would want to stay in this province and this county if they can go to Sanya? They would be even more excited if they could travel abroad, Xiao Ding said. They don't have to pay for it themselves anyway. Who wouldn't want to travel at public expense? CAO Minfang felt that what Xiao Ding said made sense, and it seemed that there was really much to be done in terms of conference affairs and training. The second thing that makes CAO Minfang feel confident is that their nursery has started a flower and tree rental business. This business has quickly spread throughout the city. Now, even the Municipal Urban Development Bureau and the City Appearance Office do not ask them to buy flowers and trees. And changed to renting, as Xiao Ding said, they felt that buying was too troublesome and had to apply and report again and again, so it was better to rent. Almost all the flowers and trees seen on both sides of the streets in Sanya belong to CAO Minfang and the others. Sanya is dressed up like a garden city, which greatly satisfies the municipal party committee and government. The conference and small meetings continued to praise the Urban Construction Bureau and the City Appearance Office. With praise, they will be more motivated to make Sanya more beautiful, and more flowers and trees will be needed. As for the rental fee, it's very simple. You can just charge it directly to the shops and businesses along the street every month. Isn't this improving the environment around them? Why not just spend a small amount of money? There are also geniuses who invented adoption. There were only a few profitable enterprises in Sanya, and soon there were enterprises adopting Jifang Road, Xinfan Street, Hedong Road, and all the other decent roads in Sanya. The so-called adoption is the money they paid to rent flowers and trees on this road. The 2 stones in CAO Minfang's heart fell to the ground. Their hotel can already predict that not only will it not lose money throughout the year, but it will also make a considerable profit. This is a rare thing among all hotels in Sanya. How could this not give CAO Minfang the confidence to speak? CAO Minfang called over to have dinner with him that evening, including Fatty Fu, the manager of the catering department, and Xiao Ding, who happened to be there. Here, Hui Huan not only learned the staffing of the entire hotel, from the restaurant to the kitchen, the work process and job responsibilities of each position, but also learned how to make Ziyuan Hunan cuisine. As for deboning a whole chicken, it's a pediatrician, and Hui Huan learned it in half an hour. During the learning process, Hui Huan was very knowledgeable and had already produced several sets of complete recipes. This is what Fatty Fu told her. He said that in every hotel, there will definitely be guests and important banquets. He will ask you to give him a banquet recipe, so you must be prepared and have several sets of ready-to-use recipes for the guests to choose from. Hui Huan wrote it herself, and Fatty Fu helped her revise it. The parts that Fatty Fu helped her revise were mainly her original local dishes. The ingredients were too low-end. Fatty Fu told her that it didn't matter if this was an ordinary banquet. Important banquets are not enough, because in such banquets, most of the food is money, and what people care about is spending more money, not less money. Local cuisine does not mean that high-end ingredients are indispensable. You didn't have them before because people in the countryside couldn't afford these things when entertaining guests. But now that you are in a big hotel, it is different. Huihuan felt that what Fatty Fu said made sense. She followed her and learned how to soak shark's fins, birds' nests, and fish maws. Fatty Fu helped her design several dishes, such as pumpkin and old hen shark's fin stew, and old hen stewed shark's fin. Among pumpkins, this has become a local dish. The most important thing is that old pumpkins can be stored well and you can have them all year round. Fatty Fu also helped her improve some of Huihuan's original specialty dishes, mainly focusing on the presentation. Huihuan learned how to make them. Huihuan looked at them herself and felt that they were much better than her original ones. Are not the same. Similarly, Fatty Fu also learned a lot of local dishes from Huihuan. He said that he planned to introduce new dishes one by one and add some local dishes to their existing dishes, which would be very elegant. Did it? After eating this meal, she was very happy at the beginning, but reluctant to part with it at the end. Huihuan didn't want to leave Cao Minfang, nor her master. She hugged Cao Minfang and her master, and she even cried. Huihuan had a feeling in her heart that it would be difficult to meet each other after this separation. In fact, it was only a 2-hour flight from Hangzhou to Sanya. It would also take such a long time to take a bus home from Hangzhou. Why? When I left home before, I didn't feel like this. Instead, I felt that the distance was very close and I could go back at any time. Isn't it possible for me to go to Sanya at any time? Isn't it just over 2 hours? Although Huihuan thought so, she still felt sad. Cao Minfang also cried. She looked at Fatty Fu with tears in her eyes and asked, "Master Fu, did I say something wrong? Is Huihuan your best disciple?" Fatty Fu nodded quickly. The plane landed at Xiaoshan International Airport. Huihuan had already made plans on the plane. There was no shuttle bus from Xiaoshan Airport to go directly to Xiaosha. She planned to take the airport bus to Stadium Road first, and then take the bus back to Xiaosha from there. Huihuan took her luggage and walked out of the exit with large and small bags, but she was stunned. She saw Zhang Chen standing at the exit waiting for her. At that moment, Huihuan really had the urge to rush towards him and throw herself into his arms, but she still under control, she greeted him with a smile. Zhang Chen hurried over and took the bag from her hand. "Why are you here?" Huihuan asked. "I'm here to pick you up," Zhang Chen said. "I am the marshal, and you are my general. When the general goes on an expedition, the marshal wants to see him off. When the general returns in triumph, of course I will come to greet him." Huihuan laughed, and Zhang Chen told her that while you were still on the plane, Cao Minfang and Fatty Fu called me. They praised you very much and said you were there. While acting nice, he also said, "If I don't come to pick you up at the airport in person, I will not only break your heart, but also both of their hearts." Huihuan giggled. "Also, your master, Fatty Fu, threatened me," Zhang Chen said. "My master threatened you?" Huihuan was surprised and asked, "What did he threaten you for?" "He said, if I don't come to pick you up, next time I go to Sanya, he won't cook for me. He won't cook if he says he won't. Even if I fire him, I can't win. How dare I not come?" Huihuan laughed and felt warm in her heart. The two of them chatted and laughed all the way to the parking lot and walked to Zhang Chen's car. Zhang Chen put the bag in the trunk and said, "Buy so many things." "No, those 2 packets are all seasonings. Master asked me to bring them back because he was afraid that I might not be able to buy them when I go back to Hangzhou. By the way, brother Zhang, I will cook for you tomorrow, okay? Please, please, boss lady. Invite Mr. Lu, Mr. Tan, and brother Lu to come, and I will cook it for you," Huihuan said. "What, graduation report?" Zhang Chen asked with a smile. Huihuan nodded and said, "Forget it. I have learned a lot from Master. Also, Master has designed several sets of recipes for our Tuxianjiayuan hotel. I will make one for you to try tomorrow." "Okay, then I will tell them the news, and they will be very happy, Jiang Chen said. Thank you Kong 668, a green Minjiao in the book, and Chien Dad for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the reading and votes. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1258. Jiang Chen drove Huihuan to the door of Huihuan local vegetable restaurant in his car. As soon as the car stopped, Huihuan opened the car door and ran out and into the store. It was the time when there were fewest customers in the store. Through the glass, Jiang Chen saw Huihuan and Aqiao hugging another waiter. Her parents also walked out of the kitchen at the back. Huihuan chatted animatedly with her parents. Huihuan's father saw Jiang Chen's car outside and asked Huihuan, "Have you had lunch?" Huihuan said she ate it on the plane. "What about Boss Jiang? Didn't he eat when he picked you up?" Huihuan's father asked. Huihuan exclaimed "Ah," and then remembered that Jiang Chen was still outside. Huihuan hurriedly ran outside and told Jiang Chen to come down and eat. Jiang Chen smiled and said, "I have already eaten. Do I want to send you back to your room first and come back after putting away your things?" "No, no need," Huihuan said, "those condiments were originally meant to be placed here." Jiang Chen got out of the car, opened the trunk, and prepared to help Huihuan carry her luggage. Huihuan's parents and Aqiao had already come out of the store, and they helped carry it in. Jiang Chen said goodbye to them and drove back to the city instead of going to the factory. On the way back from the airport, Zhao Xian called Jiang Chen and said he had something to tell him. Just after Jiang Chen passed the East bus station, the phone rang again. It was Zhao Xian again. Zhao Xian asked Jiang Chen where he was. Jiang Chen said that at the East bus station, "I came directly to the oil painting gallery." No, I'd better come over." "Is Sister Xiao Zhao here?" Zhao Xian asked. Jiang Chen said yes, and then he immediately understood what Zhao Xian wanted to do with him. He said, "Zhao Xian, is it Xiaoshu?" Zhao Xian chuckled and hung up the phone. Jiang Chen shook his head. After the Spring Festival, at the end of February, Xiaoshu went to take the professional course examination of GOM. More than a month later, it should be time for the professional course results to come out. Although Zhao Xian had already inquired and told Jiang Chen and Xiao Zhao that there was no problem, has passed, but it is not an official announcement after all, which makes people feel that there is always a sense of uncertainty in their hearts. Jiang Chen arrived upstairs at the dynamic zone. Before he entered his office, he called next door, "Xiao Zhao." Jiang Chen opened the door and entered the office, and Xiao Zhao followed. Jiang Chen said to her, "Zhao Xian is on the way here. Xiao Shu's results should have come out." "Real?" "Yes," Jiang Chen said. Xiao Zhao hugged Jiang Chen from behind, picked her up, shook her left and right twice, and put her down again. She was already out of breath. Jiang Chen laughed and asked, "What are you so excited about?" Xiao Zhao was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Yes, why am I so excited? My dear, it seems that Xiao Fang was admitted to Zhejiang University, but I am not so excited." "I know the reason," Jiang Chen said. "You know?" "I don't even know I'm excited." "Do you know?" Xiao Zhao asked doubtfully. Jiang Chen nodded, "I know." Speak quickly, my dear, speak quickly," Xiao Zhao urged. Jiang Chen said, "Because Xiao Fang never needs you to worry, not Xiaoshu." Yes, Xiao Zhao nodded repeatedly. "Also, if Xiaoshu is admitted to the National Academy of Sciences, do you think that you, as a sister, will have fulfilled your responsibilities?" Jiang Chen asked. Xiao Zhao stared at Jiang Chen, pursed her lips. She said, "Okay, you guessed it all. I didn't even know it just now, but when you said it, it was true." "However, this is still the first step," Jiang Chen reminded. "For Xiaoshu, cultural classes are the key." This idiot Xiao Zhao cursed in Chongqing dialect, then changed it to Mandarin. I can't get a score of 280, so I just. Zhang Chen smiled and said, what do you think? Xiao Zhao raised his hand in the air and slapped him one after another. Zhang Chen laughed and said, I don't ask him to get a score of 280. If he can get a score of 250 or above, there is still something he can do. If he can't even get a score of 250, it will be very difficult. It's okay. There are still more than 2 months. Let's encourage him more. Okay, dear, I'll ask Xiao Fang to keep an eye on her too. Zhang Chen remembered and said to Xiao Zhao, I just went to the airport to pick up Hui Huan. Hui Huan invited all of us to go to her place tomorrow and try her new dishes. I called Lin Shuwen and asked her to come for dinner. I will also ask Xiaoshu how his English study is going tomorrow. Xiao Zhao agreed, and Zhang Chen called Lin Shuwen and asked her and Old Tang to go to Hui Huan local food restaurant for dinner tomorrow night. Lin Shuwen laughed and said, brother, you remembered me this time. Yes, I also want to ask you, how is Xiaoshu learning English? Very good, brother, don't worry, I have 100 ways to deal with him, Lin Shuwen said, and both Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao laughed. Just as she was talking, Zhao Xian came in from the outside. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao both looked at her. Zhao Xian asked, do you all know what I am here for? Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao nodded. Zhao Xian continued to ask, do you want to sit and listen or stand and listen? Oh, the result is already known. There is no suspense anymore. Don't be too pretentious and speak quickly, Zhang Chen said. Zhao Xian smiled and said, okay, the test results are out, Xiaoshu passed. Ranking, Zhang Chen said. Not as powerful as the boss, but he is third, Zhao Xian said. Awesome, Xiao Zhao shouted. After shouting, he looked at Zhang Chen and said to him, okay, I know your height is something no one else can reach. It's different, I think the base is different, Zhao Xian said. This year, more than 6,000 people registered for the exam in Gom. Boss, you didn't have so many people at that time, right? It's amazing to get third among more than 6,000 candidates. That's right, Xiao Zhao looked at Zhang Chen with a smile and nodded repeatedly. Zhang Chen pointed at Zhao Xian and cursed, how come you don't even know how to flatter the boss? Xiao Zhao and Zhao Xian laughed, and Zhao Xian said, I know how to flatter the boss lady. The boss lady is happy. Boss, what else can you do? Zhang Chen also laughed and said, there is no other way. The boss can only get angry and ask for a treat. The teacher appreciation banquet in the evening is also a cheering banquet. Yao Fen, Awen, and Xiao Fang will be invited to dinner. Xiao Zhao nodded and said yes, and Zhao Xian said, am I one of them? You don't count. You are just a postman delivering letters at most. However, the postman also has a reward, and he will reward you for eating with him. Zhao Xian said okay, as long as he has food to eat, it doesn't matter what he does. The three of them were chatting and laughing when Xiaoshu came in. Xiao Zhao quickly told Xiaoshu the news. Xiaoshu had no expression on his face, as if he was not surprised at all. At the end, he clicked his tongue, you're only third. Zhao Xian and Xiao Zhao looked stunned. Zhang Chen smiled and said, yes, I have the guts. The dinner in the evening was placed in the large box in Tianxiang building. Zhang Chen's parents and Xiangnang Xiangbei all came. Wang Minsheng also specially made a big cake, with the entrance door of Gom on the cake. During the meal, Yao Fen was the most excited. She looked at Xiaoshu with red eyes. Others didn't quite understand, but Zhang Chen knew it. Yao Fen herself failed to pass the school entrance exam. Now her student has been admitted to Gom and got third place in the exam. How can she be unhappy? In addition, she has experienced so many things during this period of time. Xiaoshu's good test scores may be one of the few comforts to her. It is very hard for art candidates to rush for the exam. When the exam season comes, they have to squeeze into trains and rush from one city to another in Hangzhou, Beijing, Shenyang, Chongqing, Xi'an, Guangzhou, Changsha, Nanjing. To increase your chances of getting online, you can only try your best to catch up with the exams of various schools. The more exams you take, the greater your chances. They have no money and no connections. It is impossible to buy sleeper tickets. They are lucky to have a seat without standing on the train for more than 10 hours. When they arrive at a place, in order to save money, they can only find the cheapest hotel to stay. Not only are they tight on money, but they are also tight on time. Almost all of them have exams at this school in the afternoon and have to rush to the next city in the evening. Whether he can come to the city again can only be left to fate. When I meet a companion who studies painting, we go to a certain school together. It's better to have a companion. If not, we can only walk alone for thousands of miles. That whole month was almost spent on such a long journey, tired, confused and restless. And the vast majority of people, after experiencing all this, did not wait for the results they expected. Some people can only wipe away their tears after crying one night after another, and silently start preparing for the long journey next year. Prepare. There are also people who can only give up because they really can't stand the suffering, or their family simply doesn't have the financial ability to let them try for another year, and instead join the ranks of drifting to the north, sea, or south. Or simply join the ranks of migrant workers, going to construction sites to move bricks, and to factories to install instruments and various other things. It's almost rare to find people like Xiaoshu who can always succeed by staying in one place and only applying to one school. Next, he will have to wait until June to return to Chongqing to take the college entrance examination and get 280 points, or in Zhang Chen's words, as long as 250 points and the total score of the college entrance examination are still available. After finishing the meal, Lu Ligan also joined teacher Xiaoshu. Lu Ligan said to Xiaoshu, "Composition is the big part in the Chinese language test. I'm going to study the composition topics in recent years and write you a few plausible compositions. Xiaoshu, if you memorize them, you can take a look at which one is a bit close and you can use it. That's it. You may not get a very high score for your essay, but the score will be very low, and the marking teacher himself will feel embarrassed, and will give you a score of 70 to 80%. Zhang Chen smiled on the side and said, "Is this how you took the exam when you were admitted to Zhejiang University?" Tan Shahen laughed and said, "It's true. A person who has never even entered a university is now teaching others how to get into university." Lu Ligan said disdainfully, "What do you know? I have never passed the college entrance examination, but I know how to write articles. Articles in this world are just bullshit. As long as you can talk nonsense and make some sense, this article will be enough. College entrance examination composition, and so on argumentative essays are the main ones. What is an argumentative essay is to talk about principles and principles. What is a rationale is that everyone has his own words. As long as you can justify yourself, it is a rationale." Xiao Zhao was worried, so she asked Xiao Fang, "Is this method that your brother Zhangzi said useful?" Xiao Fang thought for a moment, nodded seriously and said, "It seems useful. It's better than writing nothing at all. It's full of words, relevant, clear and coherent, and the sentences are fluent. Indeed, I should have a score of 70 or 80. Did you see that my junior sister said something? Do you still believe it?" Lu Ligan looked at Zhang Chen and Tan Shahen and said proudly, "How can you ordinary people keep up with the thinking of us from Zhejiang University? Come on, Xiao Fang, we from Zhejiang University come here," Lu Ligan said and stretched out his palm towards Xiao Fang. Xiao Fang smiled and high-fived him, and Tan Shahen scolded. "You, from Zhejiang University, are so shameless that we really can't keep up. Thank you book friend 201906240913035441 for the reward. Thank you for your monthly votes from Arongta Culturating, AC 777, Lulu 6717 P11, Gu Chan, Lady Kyler, Book Friends 1611151745031885, Kandera, and Zizhib. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1259. The next day, Zhang Chen and the others went to Huihuan local food restaurant. When Lin Shuwen saw Zhang Chen, she couldn't help laughing. She was laughing because they had eaten together at Tianxiang Tower yesterday, and they ate here again today. Lin Shuwen said, "Brother, have you raised our family?" Zhang Chen said, "Okay, you just follow me and let old Tang be my pawn." Old Tang said, "I have been the boss's pawn for a long time." Lu Ligan scolded, "Old Tang, don't you think so? Are you willing to do anything for a meal? As for it, it's not shameful to be the boss's son, don't you think so, Awen?" Old Tang asked Lin Shuwen. Lin Shuwen nodded repeatedly and everyone laughed. The dishes were served one by one, and everyone found that today's dishes were indeed different from the past. First of all, they found that Huihuan's knife skills were obviously much better than before, and also, the dishes she made looked better than the original ones. After the food was served, Huihuan stood in the box and wanted to listen to their opinions. Xiao Zhao asked her to sit down, but she refused to sit down. She told Xiao Zhao that I had to go to the kitchen to work. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, tasted every dish that was served, and told Huihuan that the taste had not changed. I was relieved. What I am most worried about is that if you go to those big hotels to learn, and see the world, you will feel that you are too small. In hotels, nothing is as good as other hotels. Everything is better than that of big hotels, so I have to imitate them. In the end, I imitate them and become the same. Lao Tan also said, "Yes, Huihuan, the most valuable thing for you is what you learned from your father. Even those big hotels can't compare with you. Don't belittle yourself and think that you are incapable of anything." When they were talking like this, Huihuan thought of what Fatty Fu said. Taste is the soul of food. The soul cannot be learned and does not need to be learned. All she needs to change is the presentation of the food. Huihuan told them what Fatty Fu said to her. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, nodded and said, "Your master is not simple." Lu Ligan also told Zhang Chen that he never thought that Fatty Fu was so wise. Zhang Chen said that people's special quality is not bought. Whether it is cooking or doing other things, those who can achieve the best must have their own two brushes. Huihuan stood on the edge and kept laughing. Zhang Chen asked her, "Why are you laughing?" "My master also said what you said," Huihuan said. "Yes, Zhang Chen, you have caught up with Fatty Fu," Lu Ligan shouted, and everyone laughed. Tan Shahen said to them, "Do you think that this is the perfect combination?" Huihuan understands the way of big hotels, and her father is still the way of rural areas. If Huihuan goes too far, her father will bring her back. It makes sense, Han Emperor Lu Bang agreed. Next, as soon as Zhang Chen had time, he took Huihuan to various hotels to eat. Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan would also remember to call Huihuan when they were eating, and Huihuan went to Xinhua bookstore herself. "I bought a lot of cookbooks and hotel management books to read. Their Tuxianjiayuan hotel has not yet opened, but Huihuan has become an expert in this field, which makes Zhang Chen feel very pleased when he sees it." Lao Tan also stepped up the construction of the hotel. By June, the entire prototype of the hotel was ready. Lao Tan had the interior decoration and exterior wall painting be carried out at the same time, so that the interior would not be painted and the decoration would come in. And hammered it out again, saving a lot of time. Zhang Chen walked upstairs to the dynamic zone. As soon as he walked into the courtyard, he heard someone talking loudly in Lu Ligan's room. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan kept laughing beside him. Zhang Chen felt that the sound he was very familiar. He walked over and saw Lao Yang, the former leader of their Yongchen Wu opera troupe, sitting on the sofa in Lu Ligan's room. When Lao Yang saw Zhang Chen, he quickly stood up, snapped to attention, saluted seriously, and shouted, "Report to the commander, I'm here to report." Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, and Tan Shahan laughed. After saying that, Lao Yang said to them again, "As soon as I heard Xiang say that you were looking for me, I rushed over immediately. Anyway, I don't care, you have to take it or not. I'm here, just rely on it. If I don't leave here, even if I'm sweeping the floor below, you still have to give me a bowl of food." Zhang Chen knew that it was not Xiang, but Feng Logui who told him that he was looking for him. But who was Lao Yang? When he saw Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan, he knew that Feng Logui was a name that could not be mentioned here. Lu Ligan said, "Lao Yang, if a talent like you sweeps the floor, the people sweeping the floor below will have nothing to eat." Zhang Chen shouted, "Let's go to my office to chat." Lao Yang is not tall, more than 160 meters tall. He first sang in the Yongchen Yu opera troupe. Yu opera is different from Peking opera. Peking opera is a man pretending to be a woman, and Yu opera is a woman pretending to be a man. In the early years of the Yu opera troupe, all the actors were women. Xiao Sheng and Lao Hung are also played by women. In the new society and new atmosphere, male students began to appear. Lao Yang was the first batch of Xiao Sheng in the original Yongchen Yu opera troupe. Lao Yang is fair, looks very polite, honest, and not annoying. It may be because he has been in the theater troupe since he was a child and ran on the dock. In addition, he is different from other people in the troupe. He especially likes to interact with and make friends with people outside the troupe. There is no one he doesn't recognize from all walks of life. In the 1970s, the theater troupe was a very eye-catching unit. There was no television at that time, and even the magazine Popular Cinema had not yet resumed publication. When people wanted to chase stars, they were all the people in the theater troupe and the actors in the theater troupe. They were very prosperous at that time. He is a man of three religions and is willing to deal with Lao Yang, even a little bit fawning. Therefore, wherever Lao Yang and the others have been, Lao Yang will make a lot of friends. His personality has also become different from his appearance. In fact, he is a bit of a charlatan. Lao Yang later became the leader of the Yongchen Wu opera troupe, leading dozens of people to make a living in the Jinhua area of Wenzhou, relying on the fame and friends he made in his early years. After everyone sat down, Zhang Chen asked Lao Yang, "Lao Yang, have you ever thought about what you want to do? Anything is fine, just don't let me step on the sewing machine." "I can't bear to step on the sewing machine," Lao Yang said. "You'd better go to my place," Lao Yang. Lu Ligan said, "Zhang Chen, there's nothing you can do here. You don't know how to step on a sewing machine, and you don't know how to cut clothes. The company upstairs does business. But what they are doing is foreign trade business, and you need to know ABC to deal with foreigners. You, Lao Yang, don't know a few letters in English, right? Why don't you know? There are things in the world that I, Old Yang, don't know about." Old Yang was unconvinced and said to Lu Ligan, "I tell you, it's either an odd number or an even number." Zhang Chen and the others laughed, and Lu Ligan said, "Okay, Lao Yang, just because you are so witty, I will definitely use you." Lao Yang looked at Zhang Chen, and Zhang Chen nodded, meaning it was okay to go to Lu Ligan's place. "It's better to use me," Lao Yang said. Zhang Song went to Liu Bei and offered him a map. "I'm here to join you, Lu Ligan." Tell me what's wrong with you. I'll help you solve it. Meeting gift. Screw you, Lao Yang, you just came here with your hands and feet tied, and you have food to eat here, so why do you want a meeting gift? Lu Ligan scolded. Okay, if Lao Yang has this intention, just find something for him to do, Tan Shahan said, otherwise Lao Yang will feel that he has no sense of accomplishment and will be useless. Lao Yang slapped his thigh and shouted, yes, Zhen Zhen still understands me. Lu Ligan smiled and said, okay, Lao Yang, I am moved by your sincerity. Let me think about what to send you to do. A company as big as yours won't have any problems, right? Leave it to me quickly, Lao Yang said. Zhang Chen said jokingly, old Yang, you wouldn't run away in the middle of the job, would you? Lao Yang laughed, no, you guys, you still remember that incident? Damn, intentionally embarrass the Cultural Affairs Bureau, these idiots. I am working hard outside, you know what are they doing? The Provincial Department of Culture gave Yang Cheng a first-class director title. I fought for it. These idiots didn't give it to me. Do you think I'm angry? I've just given up my choice. Now that I've given up my choice, look, who else in the Wu Troop can do it? Here, we are buddies, how could I give up my choice to Gangzi and Zhen Zhen? Don't worry, Lao Yang, we are more reliable than the Cultural Bureau. We won't do such nonsense, Tan Shahan said with a smile. That's right, what else do I have to worry about here? Lao Yang said. Zhang Chen scolded, old Yang, you are so damn happy that you gave up your choice, and ended up causing me to take in all your belongings. Lao Yang laughed and said, they told me, I knew you would mention this matter. The richer you are, the more stingy you are. Zhen Zhen, remember, when you pay the first month's salary, the money will be deducted from him, and the car payment will be left to me. Tan Shahan said no, but he also sat down. He should pay for it? Everyone laughed. Have you remembered? Lao Yang asked Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan said, if you want to talk about troubles, there is one thing. I still have a project in Wuhan that is unfinished. What's going on? Come and tell me. Lao Yang became interested as soon as he heard it and urged. Lu Ligan told Lao Yang what happened in Wuhan. Lao Yang kept shaking his head while listening. Lu Ligan stopped and cursed. Lao Yang, why are you shaking your head when I'm talking to you? Lao Yang said, you handled this matter so poorly that I can't believe it. This is what you, Lu Ligan, did. What's wrong with me? Lu Ligan said. Don't think about it from the perspective of the demolished households. They may have 3 generations of grandparents. They only have one house. The old one is demolished and the new one is nowhere to be found. It would be strange if they don't make trouble. If it were me, I would make trouble too. It was more violent than them. But if they are making trouble, what does it have to do with me? Lu Ligan said. You are building a house. If they don't make trouble with you, they will make trouble with whoever builds it. If they wait until the house is built and then sold, they will have no place to make trouble no matter how much they want to make trouble at that time. He can't make trouble with the person who bought the house. If that person doesn't fight with him, of course he will make trouble with you and make you stop building. But if you come to me, am I wronged? You're not wronged. Why are you being wronged like a pig's head? You can't hide from this matter. There's no point in waiting. You've been waiting for 10 years and it's still like this. Do you plan to continue to rot in your project? Anyway, you have paid all the money you should pay. Do you think those departments will be anxious? Lao Yang said. Lao Yang, what do you think we should do? Tan Shahan asked. Of course we are helping them solve their problems, Lao Yang said. Solve the problem? Lu Ligan asked, should I solve it? Lao Yang glanced at Lu Ligan and asked, do you owe them money? Lu Ligan shook his head, I don't owe it. Then what are you going to solve? Lao Yang said, those departments are hiding and pushing them towards you, but you don't know how to push them back. Who should solve it? Of course they have to come forward to solve it. Lao Yang thought for a while and said to Tan Shahen and Lu Ligan, I can't come to work in your company yet. I have to go to Wuhan first tomorrow. Lu Ligan was surprised and asked, what are you going to do? Like Comrade Mao, lead them to make a revolution. Lao Yang said, if the relevant departments know that it is your company who is leading them to make trouble, then why not be obedient? So I want to make this once the matter is settled, come back to work. Zhang Chen laughed and said, at that time, it was Zhang Song who presented the map. Yes, yes, Lao Yang nodded. Thank you for the reward that I don't know. No matter who asks, I read the book every day, ranked third from top to bottom, and rewarded it at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1260. The next day, Lao Yang really went to Wuhan. Lu Ligan and the others didn't know when he left. The night before, they went to the red clay casserole for dinner together. After dinner, Lu Ligan arranged for Lao Yang to live there. At the International Building. The next day was Sunday. Xiao Zhao was sleeping in at home. Zhang Chen sent Xiang Nan and Xiang Bei to play ball and sent them to the gym. When he returned to the office, it was already 9:30. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen had already gotten up. When they saw Zhang Chen arriving, they came over. Lu Ligan picked up the phone on Zhang Chen's desk and called Lao Yang's room, wanting to ask him to come over and have lunch together. The phone rang for a long time. No one picked up. Zhang Chen smiled and said, he probably really went to make a revolution. Both Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen thought it was impossible. They thought that Lao Yang would really go to Wuhan and learn from Zhang Songxian's map yesterday, when everyone was joking together. Lu Ligan called the front desk of the International Building again, and was told that Lao Yang had already checked out. When did it happen? Lu Ligan asked. It's very early. I came to hand over my shift at 7 o'clock, and he had already checked out, the other party said. Tan Shahen took the phone over and asked, is it Xiao Chang? Tan Shahen, do you know where he went? International Building is the company with which Lu Ligan and the others have signed an agreement. Tan Shahen is very familiar with several people at the front desk. When the other party heard that it was Tan Shahen, she quickly said, Sister Tan, wait a minute while I ask. Xiao Chang covered the microphone with one hand and asked other people at the front desk, as well as the security guard, doorman, and bellman in the lobby. Like her, they all came to take over at 7 o'clock. When they arrived, Lao Yang, he's already gone, how could he possibly know? Xiao Chang looked through the records at the front desk and found something. She let go of the hand covering the microphone and continued to talk to Tan Shahen. Sister Tan, I'm sorry. No one knows where he went. However, I saw the record here. He asked for a morning call at 5 o'clock. If he got up so early, he should be going to the airport or the bus station. It was unreasonable to take a bus back to Yongcheng or leave without knowing anything. Only then did Tan Shahen and Lu Ligan believe that Lao Yang had really gone to Wuhan. Tan Shahen scolded, this damn old Yang, if he just ran over like this, nothing would happen to him, right? Zhang Chen said no, Lao Yang is an old revolutionary after all, and he has a sense of proportion. What's the point? You haven't seen Lao Yang for many years. Do you think he's still the same Lao Yang from the troop? Tan Shahen said, don't forget that he has been hanging out in society all these years. Who knows what he has learned? Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan felt that what Tan Shahen said was reasonable. Lu Ligan said, what should we do? We can't contact him. Tan Shahen thought for a moment and said, either send Su Wenhui there. If anything happens, Su Wenhui knows some people in Wuhan who can help. But even when Su Wenhui arrived in Wuhan, he couldn't find Lao Yang. We couldn't find him. He didn't even know who Lao Yang was. How could he find him, Lu Ligan said, and Tan Shahan thought about it too. Zhang Chen said, don't worry. When Lao Yang arrives in Wuhan, he will naturally contact you. Now, he is still on the train. Why are you anxious? Besides, no matter what Lao Yang does, he still has the ability to protect himself. He is not from your company now, and no matter how much noise he makes in Wuhan, it has nothing to do with you, so please be patient. Tan Shahan thought about it and realized that Zhang Chen's words made sense, so she gave up. Now there was no other way. As Zhang Chen said, just wait for Lao Yang to contact them himself. By noon on Monday, Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan calculated that Lao Yang should have arrived in Wuhan long ago, but he still hadn't contacted them. Tan Shahan lowered her head and thought for a while, then shouted, he would not contact us. How do you know? Lu Ligan asked. You didn't listen to what he said the day before yesterday that he wanted to distance himself from us. If he wanted to distance himself, why would he call us? Tan Shahan said, and Lu Ligan nodded. The phone on Lu Ligan's desk rang, and he picked it up. It was a call from Lao He, who they stayed at the Wuhan construction site to watch the construction site. Lao He called on the phone, Mr. Lu, are you here again? What's coming again? Lu Ligan asked. The demolition households, they haven't been here since our construction site stopped and people evacuated, and they are here again today, Lao He shouted. How many people came? One, just one, Lao He said. Sitting by the street in front of the construction site, there was a piece of paper in front of me with the words "Give me back my home" written on it. Lu Ligan was shocked and asked, what does this person look like? He is not tall, he is very fair, and his head is like a duck egg, Lao He said. Tan Shahan stood on the side and listened attentively. Lao Yang's hair was now thinning and lying limply on the top of his head. His face looked like a duck egg, didn't it? Lu Ligan nodded towards Tan Shahan, opened his mouth, and Tan Shahan read from the mouth shape, it's Lao Yang. Lao He, can you ask him to answer the phone? Lu Ligan said. I can't take it, Mr. Lu. What's wrong? He is a deaf-mute man. He couldn't hear anything I asked him. He just kept babbling, Lao He said. Lu Ligan couldn't help but burst into laughter. He said, okay, Lao He, just look at him. If you have anything else, call me again. Okay, Mr. Lu. Lao He hung up the phone. Lu Ligan put down the phone and still couldn't help laughing. Tan Shahan asked him what was wrong. Lu Ligan said, don't worry, Lao Yang has already started working. He is now pretending to be a deaf-mute man and is looking for the demolition households. Don't tell me, Lao Yang, this trick is very effective. Otherwise, he will run alone. How can a person who is unfamiliar with Wuhan find the demolition households? If he sat there for 2 days, the demolition households must have come to him. But why did he pretend to be deaf-mute? Tan Shahan asked. If you don't pretend to be a deaf-mute, as soon as you open your mouth, people will know that he is not from Wuhan. He is from out of town. How can you pretend to be a demolition household? Lu Ligan said. Tan Shahan suddenly understood and started laughing. Su Wenhui, Lu Ligan shouted. Su Wenhui ran over from his office and asked, Mr. Lu, are you looking for me? Yes, you immediately buy the nearest ticket to Wuhan and go to Wuhan, Lu Ligan said. Okay, what are you going to do? Su Wenhui asked. When I arrived in Wuhan, I went to our project. There was a man sitting at the door of the construction site. He said he was a demolished household. There was a piece of paper in front of him saying "Give me back my home." Remember, don't disturb him. Just follow him every day. Watch what he does, keep an eye on him and don't let him find you. Good. Remember, you must see clearly what he is doing every day and call back to report. Su Wenhui nodded and explained. You didn't turn in your press card, Do you still have it with you? Lu Ligan asked. Yes, Su Wenhui said. Bring it with you. If something happens, you can still rely on it to escape, Lu Ligan said. By about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Su Wenhui had arrived in Wuhan. He called back and told Lu Ligan that he was now at the gate of the construction site, but the place was empty and no demolition households were seen. Mr. Lu, should I go in and ask Lao He? Su Wenhui said. No, Su Wenhui, don't let Lao He know that you are in Wuhan. Lu Ligan looked at his watch and said to Su Wenhui, you can go there tomorrow morning. You will definitely see the demolition household tomorrow. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen returned to the dynamic zone after get off work. Lu Ligan told Zhang Chen about the matter. Zhang Chen laughed and shouted, isn't that right? I told you not to worry about it. Who is Lao Yang? This old turtle. He is the only one. If he sells his share, what else will happen to him? The three of them talked about Lao Yang, and became more and more excited as they talked. They dug out all the old millet. When it was overcast outside, Lao Yang was still talking about the three of them. Xiao Zhao walked in and looked at them. He asked strangely, aren't you ready to eat? The three of them felt hungry and had no interest in going out to eat. They were all interested in Lao Yang. Xiao Zhao quickly called the canteen below, ordered a few dishes, and went back to his office. It was the end of the month, and her place was busy. Woolen cloth. The night passed quietly. In the morning of the next day, as soon as Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao walked upstairs, Zhang Chen saw Lu Ligan standing at the door of his room with a phone in his hand, looking at them. Waving, Zhang Chen knew it must be related to Lao Yang and ran over quickly. Lu Lipol pressed the speakerphone and started the live broadcast. Su Wenhui called on the phone, Mr. Lu, there are not 1, but 50 or 60 demolition households here. Zhang Chen couldn't help laughing when he heard this, and raised his thumb. This was to praise Lao Yang for finding the organization so quickly. Mr. Lu, there are so many people here, who do you want me to keep an eye on? Which demolition household is the target? Su Wenhui asked. Like this, Su Wenhui, Lu Ligan said, you approach the crowd quietly and see if there is a deaf-mute person inside. If there is, he is the target. You withdraw immediately and watch them from a distance to see what they are going to do. Don't he discovered it, do you understand? Okay, wait for my call, Su Wenhui said and hung up the phone. Xiao Zhao was on the side and heard something baffled. She asked, what are you doing? Watching a performance by an old actor, Lu Ligan said with a smile. Lao Yang. Tan Shahen and Xiao Zhao said that they had dinner in the red clay pot that day, and Xiao Zhao also went there. She knew that Lao Yang was the leader of Zhang Chen's original Wu opera troupe. Xiao Zhao asked, what's wrong with Lao Yang? Go to Jinggang and make a revolution, Lu Ligan laughed. Xiao Zhao felt even more confused. Looking at Zhang Chen told Xiao Zhao about Lao Yang going to Wuhan, and then Xiao Zhao understood. By the way, Xiao Zhao, Zhang Song presented the map, and it's your family's map, Lu Ligan said. What the hell? Xiao Zhao asked, looking at Zhang Chen again. Zhang Chen was about to explain to her that Zhang Song was a figure from the Three Kingdoms period. He should be considered a geographer and liked to draw maps. Zhang Song was originally going to give the map of Sichuan, which is Sichuan, to Cao. Unexpectedly, Cao saw that this guy looked wretched. He had an arrogant attitude and was very unhappy. Not only did he not bother to pay attention to him, he also ordered his men to beat him out with sticks. On the way back to Sichuan, Zhang Song met the big-eared thief Liu Bei. Liu Bei's attitude was exactly the opposite of Cao's. He was very focused on intellectual policies and was very polite to Zhang Song. Chinese intellectuals are easily moved. Zhang Songyi was moved and dedicated his carefully drawn map of Sichuan to Liu Bei. Later, Zhuliang relied on this map to invade Sichuan and establish the Shu kingdom. At that time, unlike now, it is absolutely impossible to fight a war without a map. Therefore, before a war, spies were sent to draw a map. Zhang Song presented it, but it was a map of the entire Sichuan. It was the future foundation of the Shu kingdom, which shows how precious it is. Before Zhang Chen could say these words, he heard Lu Ligan's phone ringing. Lu Ligan pressed the speakerphone, and Su Wenhui shouted on the phone. "Mr. Lu, we found it. There is such a deaf-mute man. It's strange. This guy has a pen and paper in his hand, writing and drawing." The demolition household seemed to regard him as their leader. Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, and Tan Shuhen laughed, and Xiao Zhao also laughed. She thought that Lao Yang, a person who talked endlessly as soon as he opened his mouth, wanted to make him a deaf-mute without making him uncomfortable. Die. Thank you Eternal Evergreen Emperor Yan for the reward. Thank you to the book reviewers Huaze, Laughing and Running Y, San Ran Daxia, Qian Dad, Win San Liu, Zipanjiang 1, No Future. Just remember the original intention, Fantasy in the Wind, Hagwei, Lisa 919, Zizhewu, Book Friends 201912162129444508 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Happy Sunday everyone.